Hola chicos y chicas, soy yo, señor Nama, otra vez. Alright, so as we prepare for tomorrow's lesson, we're going to be working on these actual interpersonal speaking prompts in class. But to give you a little heads up for it in class, we're going to go ahead and do a little pre-lesson for it and get ready for it and kind of get an idea of what we're doing. The interpersonal speaking assessment is really simple. These are the learning targets. It says, I can have a simple conversation about entertainment. I can ask and answer simple questions about an entertainment event. And I can say what I like to do and don't like to do, or I'm sorry, what I like and don't like about the event. Okay, and this is the scenario. And if you've had Spanish 1 here at Harlan County High School or at a similar school previously, you probably have already got used to these scenarios. But scenario number 1 says, your teacher has set up a Skype session with another school in Madrid, Spain, during which you will be paired with a Spanish teenager who will be discussing entertainment with you. You have prepared in advance and are planning to talk about favorites you have in entertainment, movies, TV programs, sports, games, or music, any of those, including specific people involved. Specific events, programs, movies, games, or artists. Where you do this activity. Ask your partner questions about his or her preferences and ask what he or she thinks about your favorites and entertainment choices. If there is anything else you would like to find out from your Spanish-speaking partner in order to show off your Spanish-speaking skills, feel free to do so. Okay, so let's go ahead and get some notes about these little fellas here. I'm going to bounce over here to a Word document I've already prepared for us. Let's see, it's this one right here. Okay. So this is the scenario again, and I'll leave it up here and we'll come back to it momentarily. So let's break it apart. So it says your teacher set it up, and here's what we got to do. So we first got to talk about our favorites in entertainment, and then we've got to talk about the specific people involved. Okay, so let's go ahead and mention which entertainment favorite we have. Suppose you like basketball, and this is just one option here. You could put, en mi opinión, el básquetbol es lo mejor. En entretenimiento, if you want to mention that, or just however, that just keeps it simple this way. Or pienso que el básquetbol es mejor. Or creo que el básquetbol es lo mejor. Or if you don't like basketball, suppose you like movies, then just do one about movies, and it's perfectly okay too. En mi opinión, las películas es la mejor forma de entretenimiento. Or películas son mejor, or something else like that. So that would just give you basically that'd give the person that you're talking to your perspective of which form of entertainment is the best and which one you like the best. Okay. Then we're going to go forward. Suppose you want to mention, like it says here, which people are involved. So you'd say, if it's basketball, a mí me gusta jugar el básquetbol, or whatever you like to do. A mí me gusta ver las películas, or whatever. And I'm just going to put this right here so you know it's one example and not the be-all, end-all per se. So a mí me gusta jugar el básquetbol con mis amigos, if you like to do it with friends, or solo, or whoever, etc. And I'll put or solo, etc. Or my family, or whatever. And then you put whoever it is. If you want to say, a mí me gusta jugar básquetbol con mis amigos, Cameron y Sofia, if it's your friends, or whoever else you're doing it with at that time. Or solo, if it just be you. Okay. So those are some options. Now let's go back up to the prompt again. It says real simply, specific events, programs, movies, games, or artists. So let's suppose you did talk about basketball. This is one hypothetical situation, of course. And you want to talk about a recent game you all had against, let's just do a random example here, against Bell County. So you could say, durante nuestro partido, so during nuestro, our, partido, game, or if you want to leave off the nuestro and just put mi, partido, whichever one of those you would like, that's up to you. And this one just be that one. Durante mi partido contra Bell County, so during our or my game contra Bell County, ganamos or triunfamos con una batalla muy difícil. So we won or we triumphed with a difficult battle. And just as a little side note, you don't really even have to do this because it's kind of can be left as a proper name that's inserted from English as an item that wouldn't translate. But if you want to, you can translate county. It's up to you if you do. El condado de Bell. Condado de Bell. So, durante nuestro partido contra Bell County, or contra el condado de Bell, whichever you prefer, ganamos o triunfamos con una batalla muy difícil. So, during our game against Bell County, we won or we triumphed with a difficult battle. Okay. Al fin del partido, Harlan County recibió 35 puntos y Bell County recibió 29 puntos. So at the end of the game, Harlan County received 35 points and Bell County, or el condado de Bell, whichever you prefer, recibió 29 puntos. Or if it's a different score, whatever it was, so you can talk about those things and just explain it. All right, that would be one particular event. And if you're doing a movie, you could talk about one particular movie. If you're talking about the movie Despicable Me, or if you're talking about whatever movie it is, you can talk about some of the events in it. Okay, so just describe it, and that would be those items. Okay. Suppose you're going back to sports, because I have a lot of students who do that. I'm not really Mr. Sports myself, but I love seeing my students participate in them. They do really good in them. So if they want to talk about their team, mi equipo y yo jugamos o practicamos el básquetbol en el gimnasio del colegio o la prepa o liceo. Let's see where that fits in. Okay. So the question that I ask you to do here, or the prompt asks you to specific events. Okay, we've done that one already, the game. And where you do this activity, so the where. So this is donde lo practicas, basically. So the question you'd be asked, donde lo practicas? Let's see. And this right here, let me put this in as an insertion, guys. Oopsie, I made a boo-boo. Lo siento. Okay, donde lo practicas? Donde lo practicas? Donde practicas a basketball? Or whatever else. Let me just put a little line here. Donde practicas? Where do you play? Where do you practice el basketball? All right, if it's basketball. If donde ves la película? Or donde juegas? Donde juegas? Where do you play, essentially? Or donde ves películas? ¿Dónde ves o miras películas? Perdón, sorry guys. Películas. So where do you watch movies? Where do you play if you play video games? Whatever else you might play if you keep it simple. So those are some options. Suppose you go back to the example here about the basketball here, or baseball, whatever it is, or football, etc. Mi equipo y yo jugamos o practicamos el básquetbol en el gimnasio del colegio. Right? So that would be saying my team and I play or practice basketball in the gymnasium of the high school. And colegio is real simply the word for high school in Ecuador. If you're in Mexico, they might say words such as la prepa, like a preparatoria, basically, or el liceo, or la escuela secundaria. There's several words you can use for high school, and each one depends basically on which country you're located in at the moment. All right, the next one here. Suppose you don't want to do anything related to basketball or baseball or whatever. So this one you would say, a mí me gusta ver películas en el cine de Harlan. So that would be, I like to watch or see movies in the película, or in the cine de Harlan. So a mí me gusta ver películas en el cine de Harlan. I like to watch movies in the theater of Harlan, solo, if you like to watch them alone, or con amigos, or con mi familia would be another option, or whatever, basically, or whoever, etc. Okay, and that would be one about watching movies if you want to watch those. Okay, so a mí me gusta ver películas en el cine de Harlan, solo, or like I said, if you want to go with your friends, or con tu amiga, or tu familia, sorry. Okay. Then, a mí me gusta jugar videojuegos con amigos. So if you like to play video games with your friends, you would say this one. Or if you would like to do them alone, you don't want to have to worry about having friends nearby. You just want to do video games so you can have some free time. A mí me gusta jugar videojuegos solo. You just put solo and leave off the con mis amigos part. Or en la casa, if you like to do them at home. Or en la casa de mis amigos, if you like to play them at your friend's house, etc. Wherever you like to play video games, if that's your way of playing stuff. Asking questions about your friend. Let's go up here now, back up to the prompt again. Says, ask your partner questions about his or her preference and what he or she thinks about your entertainments or favoritos and entertainment choices. Okay, so let's go back down here again, and we see this little example here, this question I have. ¿Qué es tu forma de entretenimiento preferido? So what's your preferred form of entertainment? Entretenimiento. Okay. Suppose that's a little bit harder for you to say. You can just go a little more specific. You can say, ¿Qué te gusta ver en las películas? If you want to ask what do you like to see in movies. ¿Qué te gusta ver en las películas? Or suppose you want to ask them about sports. You like sports and you think they do too. ¿Qué te gusta jugar en deportes? And if you don't want to use jugar, you can say practicar. Practicar. ¿Qué te gusta practicar en deportes? Okay. Or suppose you don't know for sure and you think they like to do sports or whatever. ¿Practiques algún deporte? Do you play or practice some particular sport? Or let's add one that's real simple in there that we had last year. ¿Qué te gusta hacer en tu tiempo libre? What do you like to do in your free time? Real simple one, right? So, ¿qué te gusta hacer en tu tiempo libre? No? ¿Qué te gusta hacer en tu tiempo libre? Real simple one. That goes back from last year from Spanish 1 and it just recycles it and spirals it down to Spanish 2. ¿Qué te gusta hacer en tu tiempo libre? Real simple. And then from here, suppose you want to ask them about your thoughts about movies or whatever, and because remember up here they had a question, going back, it says, ask your partner questions about his or her preference and what he or she thinks about your entertainment choices. Suppose you'd mentioned that you like the movie Despicable Me and like the little minions and everything. So you want to ask them here, ¿Qué te parece la película Despicable Me? ¿Qué te parece la película, or ¿qué te parece el deporte Despicable Me? Or ¿qué te parece whatever? Suppose you don't like to do movies and you like basketball. I had a lot of students last year who like to do that. So you might want to say, ¿Qué te parece el basketball? Because you think, well, I told them all about my basketball choices or my movie choices, Despicable Me or my whatever, and I want to see what they think about it now. So let's find out. And you could ask them, ¿Qué te parece el basketball? Or ¿Qué te parece los videojuegos? Or parecen los videojuegos. ¿Qué te parece la música de Shakira? How do you feel about the movie or the music of Shakira? Or ¿Qué te parece la música rock? If you like rock music and you want to ask them about theirs. Or ¿Qué te parece la música? Last year I had one student like the música cristiana, el gospel. If you want to ask them about that. Or suppose you want to ask about la música pop or country. That's fine too. And in case you're wondering, no, country or pop or whatever would not really translate on this particular scenario because it's an American form of music and it's been correlated over to Spanish. It's kind of been adapted as a word, more like a, if you want, the linguistic term is called like a calco. Basically, it's been accepted into Spanish as an English word per se. Okay, but to help you explain that better, música cristiana y gospel would go ahead and translate, but la música salsa, suppose you have a Spanish-speaking friend and he's telling you about his favorite choices of entertainment and so forth. So at that point, you would not really ask them about it. You would just kind of, go with it from there. They would say basically, a mí me gusta la música salsa. ¿Qué te parece la música salsa? Or you want to ask your friend about that, and that would be fine. Okay, now let's go back to your little scenario here. Hold on tight. And this is, if there's anything else you'd like to find out from your Spanish-speaking partner in order to show off your Spanish-speaking skills, feel free to do so. So let's see if we can get this up from just a novice high up to an intermediate low. Let's go ahead and go above and beyond what we just have. What could you say? What are some examples? I mean, you can do anything really you want to say to prove that you're up at that level, but suppose you want to ask them some basic ones like this. Suppose they're from Spain and you want to take that role and he takes the other role or she takes the other role. ¿Qué me cuentas de España? What can you tell me about Spain? Or ¿Qué me cuentas de Kaywood? Suppose your partner's from Kaywood and you don't want to really play Spain and United States, you just want to play local, play Harlan County, and the role play rather. So you might want to say, ¿Qué me cuentas de Kaywood? If your friends say Kaywood. And he or she might say, Kaywood es un pueblo muy tranquilo, a very tranquil little town or village area. Or suppose that he or she wants to ask you about Cumberland. ¿Qué me cuentas de Cumberland? And they might say, or this is just a possible example, they might say anything they want to about it, but they might say, Cumberland es una ciudad bonita y histórica. So Cumberland's a city, a pretty city, and historical city. That might be something they want to. That's up to you and them. Or they want to talk about Harlan. Harlan es una ciudad muy linda y tranquila. Or Bledsoe es un pueblo muy bonito y tranquilo. Bledsoe is a nice little area and it's tranquil. Any of those areas, whatever you want to talk about. Wallens, or if you just want to talk about you know, the state of Kentucky or whatever. That's up to you to prove your abilities, okay? Or suppose you just want to go back to last year from everything you remember and you just want to use like, ¿Cuántos años tienes, hombre? How years do you have or how old are you? Or suppose you want to talk about, ¿Qué me cuentas de la vida? What can you tell me about your life, you know? Tell me what's new in your life, basically. ¿Qué me cuentas de la vida? That's a pretty cool one. So those are some other little examples, okay? So some pretty basic stuff, you know, nothing too major. And again, this is just to help you get ready for your little speaking prompt we do in class, and I'll give you all some time to work on it, but still, you'll probably have a random partner, so just be prepared for that. And that way you'll be able to do your best at it, and there won't be any problems doing it, okay? Listos, chicos.